afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our session on this Tuesday afternoon. It has just gone 2 o'clock, so we are ready to start, and I hope you are too. So welcome again to an iStore Meet session. Today we're talking about iCloud essentials for all your Apple devices. So iStore Meets, of course, is a series of workshops and events which is brought to you by the iStore. And we have a whole lineup of workshops, and I hope you have attended some of them already. These are hosted by our best product trainers and also industry experts to help you learn more about the products that you love so you can connect, you can create, you can get fit, and also to be more productive. So the iStore Meets program covers a variety of topics to help you now and also in the future. And these are things like fitness, productivity, education, creativity, and a whole lot more. So these are hosted online. Thank you everybody for joining us today, and also hopefully at your closest iStore in the future. So please have a look out for that. In the meantime, please continue to visit myistore.co.za/meets, where you can book more sessions. So we also like to hear from you all today. So definitely make use of the Q&A panel. If you've got any questions, we'd like to try and answer all your questions. And also in the chat panel, you can say hello. So maybe let us know where you are joining us from today in the chat panel. It's always nice to see where everyone is at. So nice to have everyone on the call. And say hello for sure. Lastly, we do have a monthly competition. So we are giving away a 1,500 Rand iStore gift card. So to enter, all you need to do is post a picture of your home setup. So watching us today, you can post a picture of maybe your computer, your screen, whatever it might be, or even if you've taken a great photo on your iPhone, so please share that with us, or maybe an illustration on an iPad. We would definitely love to see what you are doing. So go on to Facebook and Instagram and use the iStore hashtag. You can use, this is the iStore Meets hashtag. So let's see, already a lot of people saying hello, and hello everybody. I see, lots from Cape Town, Durban, Joburg, all over. So it's so great to have everyone join us today. So let's get going. Today we're talking about iCloud essentials, right? So iCloud, it is, I think, so intricate to so many parts of our devices. So that is our session. Let me also quickly make sure that you can see me. Turn on my camera there for a second. Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Marius. So nice to have you on the call. I also have my colleagues Alon and Stefan on here, and they are definitely going to try and help with as many questions as they can. Maybe just so we can frame it from the start also, hopefully not too much of a technical session. And if you've got any additional questions, I think also feel free to make another booking on the My iStore website for maybe a personal training or even a technical booking. And let's talk about iCloud for a little bit. And essentially, hopefully what you're seeing on the screen is what we're talking about here. So you're making a change on one device, and essentially that change will then apply to all your other devices. In this case here, you see maybe there's a photo that we've taken and we upload that new photo. Essentially what this will mean, that photo will travel to iCloud, it will stay there, but also it'll come down to all your other devices, which means all your devices are always up to date and always in sync, right? So let's chat about that a little bit more in terms of how we get this to work. So firstly, you need to have an Apple ID that is signed in on the same, on all these devices. So in this case, you can see we've got our iStore Meets Apple ID, and we've signed in on a Mac and also on an iPhone and an iPad. And essentially, this is how these devices are linked up with your Apple ID, right? So hopefully everyone has already got an Apple ID that you're using. Also, it's always interesting to know how many devices people are using, right? So quickly give us a heads up in the chat panel. So how many Apple devices do you have in your Apple ecosystem? So maybe you get an iPhone and a Mac, an iPad, Apple Watch, right? Maybe some AirPods. I see a lot of 5s coming in, 3s, right? 4s, 2s. Some people have 6 devices. Oh my goodness, we got someone with 12 devices, right? So that is quite crazy. So even if you have only one, you can still see the magic. But what we are going to talk about today is if you have multiple devices, how it becomes so much better. So let's jump in with a few things, right? And we're going to start with talking about the iCloud photo library. So I'm sure a lot of you will be taking a lot of photos, even on lockdown. Maybe you're taking a lot of photos of your family and just in and around the house. And essentially you might end up with, am I right, thousands of photos, right? Many of you will have photos maybe going back to like 2012, or maybe even when you got your first iPhone, right? So maybe from 2007, 2008, you've been using iPhone. You've got all those photos on your device. So what is iCloud Photos all about, and how does it make your life easier? So first things first is you can actually enable the setting which is iCloud Photos. So this will allow all your devices to use the same iCloud library. If you don't enable this, essentially the photos you take on your iPhone will only live on your iPhone, and that's where they'll stay. But as soon as you enable the little setting, which is, as you can see on your iPhone there, iCloud Photos, it means those photos will sync up to iCloud and also then come back down to your other devices. What's great about this is also allows you to save some storage. You can see on the screen on the left there, you can say optimize iPhone storage. So if you turn this option on, essentially what you can do is have all the full resolution images stay on iCloud. And even if you have a low capacity iPhone, maybe you don't have like one of the biggest ones, maybe even a 32 or a 64 gigabyte. It means even if you've got more photos, maybe you've got 100 gigs worth of photos, you'll still see all the photos on your iPhone. They just won't be full resolution, as though those photos will be in iCloud itself. So what I want us to do today is actually see how this works. I'm not just going to talk about how all this works. We actually want to see it in action, right? So let me quickly jump out of my presentation here. And just want to minimize one or two things here so we can all see my screen. So hopefully everyone is seeing my screen. And what you should be seeing, let's see, is on my Mac is actually my iPhoto, or my photos library rather. So as you can see, I got a whole bunch of photos here. And what I also want to show is actually, I've got my iPad and my iPhone also linked up to the session. So let me quickly just explain how this will work. You guys seeing my Mac screen at the moment. But if I quickly just switch over to another view, there we go. You can see there's my iPhone. And let me just add my iPad to that as well. And there we go. I should see that in a moment. There we go. So there essentially is my iPad and also my iPhone, right? So what we'll be doing for the session is we'll be jumping between these different devices so you can see how this happens live between my Mac and also my iPhone and my iPad. In this case, we're talking about photos, all right? And I want to show you how actually one change affects all your devices. So what I want to do is go onto my iPhoto library, my photos library rather. And you can see here, this is where we have access to all these photos, right? If I go into the preferences of my Photos app, I go to iCloud, you can see I've turned on that option, which is iCloud Photos, right? So I know these photos are syncing to the cloud. So what I want to show you is making one change. So let's say this photo here, I've turned into a black and white, right? So maybe that's not something I need necessarily to be black and white. If I quickly switch to my iPhone and iPad, you can see, yep, there we go, black and white on my iPhone and also on my iPad. But let's make a change. So I'm going to jump back to my Mac, and I'm actually going to go into this photo, and let's quickly actually go click on edit. There we go. I think maybe I've just stopped sharing my screen. So let me just do that again. There we go. So what I'm going to do on this photo, I'm going to go to the edit menu, and I'm going to say, let's revert this photo, right? Let's take it back to the original. So it was a color photo before. So what's going to happen is I'm going to click on revert. And what I want you to look at is how this photo is now going to travel up to iCloud. And if I jump over to my iPad and my iPhone, I think we might have actually missed that. How quick was that? Can you see on those devices that photo has already changed back to a black and white, to the color version. So literally what happened here is we made a change on one device. It made that change on iCloud and essentially came back down to all our other devices, right? Something to keep in mind also, if I delete a photo on one device, so let's go with this last photo here, for instance, of this dude sitting on the dune here, and I delete that photo. There we go. Delete that photo. You can see already it deleted from my iPhone as well. And I'm pretty sure if I go back to my Mac, and I maybe just go out to that view and go to the bottom, you can see that guy is still at the bottom, but any second now, you'll see that photo disappear. And that's just an illustration of how iCloud functions in terms of syncing all your devices. It's actually pretty quick in terms of how it happens. Literally within a few seconds, you should see these things kind of make changes on all your devices. So let me also just make sure I can still see your questions. So if there's anything, we can definitely chat about what you need to know. Okay, another thing to know is maybe, and a lot of people ask this, so what about my mobile data? Because if I'm making all these changes, doesn't it affect my mobile data? And yes, it could. So what you need to do is just go and make sure that you have the right settings turned on for this. And particularly talking about photos, let me quickly show you. I'm going to jump back into my iPhone this time, because I want to show you where to change that setting. So if I go into my iPhone and I go into my settings app, you can see I've got all my settings here for literally everything on my device. Okay, really easy to find. What I'm looking for though is the one for photos. If I just keep on scrolling, you'll see at one stage, there we go. I've got settings for my photos. And essentially what I can do here, and firstly, you can see iCloud Photos is turned on. But if I scroll down a little bit, you can see there's an option for mobile data. In this case, it's turned off. So definitely if you're concerned about your phone using mobile data, with regards to all these photos, uploading to iCloud, that is where you would go and turn this off. All right. Okay, great. So we're moving along, and I see some of you already talking about how much storage you're using and how long you've been using, how many photos you have, right? So that is quite amazing. So let's move along. And you can see on my Mac in the meantime, that photo has actually disappeared, right? So it may take a few minutes depending on your internet speed, but it will take effect at some point. So we're talking about iCloud, we're talking about iCloud Photos and your iCloud Photo Library, right? So definitely something that makes your photo experience great because it's synced across all your devices. But there's so much more, right? So let's talk about things like maybe your files. How can iCloud help you to not just sync your photos between your devices, but also all the documents that you have on your desktop, maybe in your documents folder, and all the other things that you have on all your devices, right? So iCloud Drive is the place that you're going to access all these things. So on your Mac, we'll start there. So for my Mac, I'm just quickly going to quit the Photos app there so we don't have to see the Photos app necessarily. And I'm going to my Finder on my Mac. And you can see on my Mac, I've got a sidebar here, which is where I got quick access to all the little shortcuts I want on my machine. But there's one there, and this is the one we're looking at, is called iCloud Drive. And essentially, this is where all your iCloud documents will be stored, right? So let's go into the Documents folder, for instance, and you can see there's a whole bunch of documents. If I go into my iPhone and iPad, by the way, how do I access the same files on those devices? So let me show on the iPad. So what I'm looking for, essentially, if I'm going to swipe out of that app, what I'm looking for is the Files app. So on your Mac, it'll be in the Finder. On your iPhone and iPad, it'll be in the Files app. So if we go into the Files app, you can see it's in my dock there. And you can see I've got iCloud Drive. There we go. And then if I go to my documents, you should see the same that is also on my Mac. But the beauty of this is literally you can have all these things on all your devices, and also it'll automatically update, like we said, like our photos as well. But also you can have even your desktop and your documents on there. So if you look at my iPad, you can see there's actually, that's my documents folder. And if I go a little bit down, you can see there's my desktop folder, right? So this is actually reflecting the documents and desktop image folders on my Mac. So imagine, for instance, that you are, I don't know, maybe traveling when we can travel again, right? And you don't have one device with you, so you leave your Mac at home. But there's this one file that you need, and you know it's on your desktop, on your Mac at home, right? So if you have this turned on, essentially what you can have is all your documents on all your devices. So where would we turn this on? Let me quickly show you how to do this. So if you want to have this turned on, I can go to the Apple menu on my Mac. I'm going to go to where it says about this Mac, right? So that's one way to turn it on. There's an option there that says storage, right? And then I can manage my storage, right? So if I click on manage storage, you can see I will get a little separate window that appears. You can see the first one on the top there says store in iCloud, right? It'll take a second to load, but essentially this is where I can then enable. If I go store in iCloud and I click on it, you can see mine is already enabled. It says document and desktop in the cloud, and also my photos, right? So if you have that enabled, what will happen is literally all your desktop and all your documents folders will upload to iCloud and then be available on all your devices. So I guess maybe just a little word of caution: if you turn those on and you have a lot of files in your documents folder, and this could be many years worth of files, right? Files and folders, right? What you could do is actually all those files will upload to iCloud. So just make sure whenever you do turn this on that you do have sufficient data to have at least that first initial sync to take place. Someone is just asking there, Steve, is how do we find this on our iPad? So let me show you again there, Steve. I'm going to jump back to my iPad. So on my iPad, essentially what you're looking for, in my dock, you'll see there's an app that looks like a little white icon of an app with a blue folder in it. That's called the Files app. So essentially, if I click on the Files app, then this is going to show me iCloud Drive, and this will be all the same things that is stored in iCloud Drive. By the way, if you don't have the Files app, maybe you just need to update your software. So I think this came out with iOS 11. So most of you should have it, but maybe it's one of those apps that you downloaded because you never found a use for it. Well, hopefully you can just reinstall it from the App Store, and that'll solve that for you. So we're talking about iCloud Drive and just how useful it is, right? I want to show you one or two more things in terms of how this makes your life easier. So for instance, you can also share a folder. So in my documents folder, for instance, I can make a new folder. So let me do that. I'm going to call this my test folder. There we go. So essentially what I can do if I want to share this folder, not just with myself, right, on all my devices, but I can also share this with other people. So what I can do is I can go to the menu bar, and all I'm going to do is I'm clicking on the share icon. The one looks like a little square with an arrow coming out, right? That is the typical share icon, and I can then add people. So as soon as I add people to this folder, that means I can then share whatever's inside that folder with other Apple users. They'll be able to add it to their iCloud drives. But even if they're on Windows, so I think someone is actually talking about Windows and using iCloud at the moment, someone can even also access this on a Windows. Little side note maybe for that feature to work. So if you want to have shared folders, that's actually something that came out quite recently. So you need to have iOS or iPadOS 13.4 for this to work, or you need to have Catalina version 15.4 as well. Let me go back there to show you. So you need to have 15.4 for this to work, right? So shared folders is quite a nice way, obviously, to just share those files that you need with other colleagues or friends and family. Another neat thing, which a lot of people, I think, have asked me about is why sometimes when you make a new document on iCloud, does it want to delete it once you close the document and not just save it, right? So let me show you how this works. So on my Mac, I'm quickly going to open up an app called Pages. Right, so if you're using a Mac already, then you'll know this app. Even if you have an iPhone or iPad, you also have this app on there. But what I'm going to show you is just how this actually automatically does a few things in the background in terms of iCloud. So in Pages, I'm going to make a new document, right? And let's just choose maybe this one here with the desert dunes, right? So I'm going to choose the one with the dunes. Create. So hopefully everyone will agree. I've not done anything else than open a new document. I've not saved it, right? Let's change the name also. We can call this, let's say, Namibia, right? Let's say we're going to Namibia, and this is maybe a little document that contains some photos of our trip. So I've just made a new document, right? But what I want to show you is if I go back to my Finder, I go into the iCloud Drive, and I navigate to Pages, right? Because we just made a Pages document. I want to show you that there's already a document there called Untitled. And if you look closer, right, you can see it actually says Namibia. So without actually doing anything, I've just made a new document that is already kind of synced up to my iCloud. And what's even more amazing, let me go and quickly show you on my iPad. So I'm going to jump to my iPad. So on my iPad, you can see there's iCloud Drive. Go into the Pages folder. And if I just give this a quick little refresh and see, you should see that document. Actually, there it is right there at the bottom. Hopefully you saw that appear. So literally just by making a new document and without even saving it, it's already traveled up to iCloud. It's already synced to my iPad, right? How amazing is that? If I, let's say, had to, at this stage, drop my Mac from the table for whatever reason, big accident, obviously you wouldn't want it to happen, but let's say it happens, that document would already be on your iPad as well. So you can continue to work, right? And my point was just how seamless this is. And that is, by the way, why if I close this document, and I've never even saved it, does it ask me to delete it? You can see it says delete right there because it already has a copy in iCloud. And if I delete that, you can see that copy in iCloud will disappear and also will disappear from my iPad, right? Okay, so is everyone still with me? Are you still following along? We're talking about photos, we're talking about iCloud Drive, and pretty soon we're going to see a few additional things, how these devices work together. But let's move along for a second, because I do want to cover one or two more things around how iCloud makes everything work together so seamlessly, right? And it's also that it's built into so many different apps. So if you add a new contact on one device, it'll sync to other devices. If you add a new calendar, right, it'll sync to all your devices. Literally, if you are on the web, whatever you're doing on the web will be available for you on your other devices. And I want to show you a little example here. So for instance, let's say you're browsing the web. And I'm going to jump out of my presentation there for a second. And actually for this one, let's jump into my iPhone and iPad. So I'm going to jump over to that side. Hope everyone is still following along. And maybe what I want to show you here is that on my iPhone, let's say I've got a certain website open. And you can see here, I'm reading up about maybe making something nice. You know, it's lockdown and we all like to cook a little bit of extra time maybe to spend, learning something new, maybe in the kitchen. So let's say I'm doing this on my iPhone and that's all well and good. But then maybe I'm on my iPad and I'm like, oh, I was actually on that recipe on my iPhone. And actually, I just want to actually have it on my iPad because let's say I'm in the kitchen with my iPad. My iPhone is maybe in the room upstairs and I don't want to go all the way to go and grab it, right? So let me show you how amazing this is. If I go onto my iPad and actually I go to Safari, right? I'm going to click on Safari. So I've got something open there, right? I'm busy browsing the web. I've got the New York Times. I'm maybe reading some news stories and whatnot. But what I want to show you, if you go to the top right-hand side of Safari, there's two little squares. If I tap on them, it says, okay, these are all the tabs I've got open. Have nothing else open on my iPad. But have a look at the bottom, guys. If I just scroll down, you can see it says iPhone 11. There is the same nice butter and bacon in fat cinnamon rolls, right? Maybe that's a bit too much. But my point is, even on your iPad, you can access the websites that you have open on your iPhone, right? And the same will apply to your Mac as well. Even more crazy, if I wanted to, I can actually close that on my iPad. So if I just drag on my iPad, you can see it says close, right? I can close that on my iPad. And if you watch on my iPhone, I didn't tap anything, literally closed by itself on my iPhone. Again, because all these things are iCloud synced, right? So how amazing is that? So yeah, let's move along. So iCloud literally makes all these things work together like magic. There's also a nice part about iCloud, which is it allows you to back up your iOS and iPadOS devices. So hopefully everyone is also doing this. But essentially, iCloud backup will back up once a day. And also it'll back up usually when it's plugged into power and also asleep, right? So this will usually, and on Wi-Fi, by the way, this will usually happen at night when you are asleep. Your phone or your iPad will back up. And what's great about these backups is literally you can restore your device to its full self, right? So let's say your device was lost or stolen, or maybe it fell and broke. If you had to get a new device, you could essentially go back to iCloud and say, I want to restore my device back to the same way it was literally last night, essentially. And your phone will come back exactly as it was before. So someone was asking just where do I find this? So this all is happening in the iCloud settings. So on your iPhone or your iPad, if you head over to your iCloud settings, I can show that to you in a second. But literally this will, actually, let me show that to you so we can all see. Just going to go out of that for a second. So let's look on the iPad, right? So I'm going into my settings, and I'm going to click on my name, which should be your name, right? And then you'll see there's a few options. One of them says iCloud. And if I just scroll down a little bit, you can see there's one that says iCloud backup is on. And also it'll tell you last time it backed up was on the 14th at 12:31, right? So you can get this to back up immediately if you want. And then that will obviously go up to iCloud. Someone is asking about space. So yes, this will take space. So definitely if you are backing up, let's say multiple devices, and you got lots of information on all those devices, this will take up some space in iCloud. And we'll talk in a second maybe just about expanding your storage, because it is possibly a good idea if you're using iCloud for so many things to actually just increase your storage, to have enough available to have your backups in there and your photos on there and all your documents as well. It is definitely well worth it. So, so let's quickly move along, right? So we're talking about iCloud backups and how great it is to ever, if you need it, right? Hopefully you don't want to go back to a backup, but the point is if you need it, you definitely will have all your information backed up. So this one is, we'll just touch on this one briefly, but this is also a great feature of iCloud, which is it will allow you to also save all your passwords in iCloud Keychain. So your Mac, your iPhone, your iPad, literally whenever you are on a website, and let's say you sign up for a new website, in this case, let's go back to New York Times, you can see it'll suggest a new password, right? It'll also make something that's really strong, so you don't have to wonder about using a weak password, right? But essentially, once you've saved that password, it'll be encrypted, so definitely it is very secure. And it will also be synced into iCloud, which means all your devices will have access to the same password, right? How great is that? So if you're on your iPad and you browse to, let's say, the same website, you don't have to try and remember the password. It will be there already for you, right? So iCloud Keychain. Someone is asking, can you also use Keychain on a Windows PC? So, so not so much, right, Henless? So that is one of the things that integrates quite tightly on the Apple side. On the Windows side, you can access many things, including your documents and your photos, right? And a few other things. But the keychain is very much a Mac and iPhone specific thing, unfortunately. By the way, there's also other apps, if that's really something you need to do, that you can use that work across multiple platforms. So maybe that's something that you can go and check out. So iCloud Keychain is great to use for passwords. Let's move on to family sharing. So family sharing is, I think, one of those amazing things about iCloud that really just kind of makes it so worthwhile, right? Because if one person has an iPhone, that's great. If there's more than one person with an iPhone or an iPad or a Mac for that case, you can start sharing certain things using iCloud. So I'm talking about things like you can do family music subscriptions, right? So firstly, you can get music for the whole family at quite a reduced pricing, right? So, so that's nice. I don't know how many of you have got iCloud or using Apple Music, but it's definitely something if you've got a family to be doing. Things like movie purchases, right? So if one person had purchased a movie, that same movie would not have to be purchased again on another device, right? You can actually start streaming that movie directly on any of the other devices. Same thing with music purchases. If you've been using maybe the iTunes store to purchase music, books, you know, all these things that you can buy literally on the Apple ecosystem will then be available. Even apps, right? So let's say one person had bought an app and maybe it wasn't a free app, you know, that's fine because everyone else can also then also have access to the same app. By the way, one of the other great features about family sharing is you can also share storage. So we spoke about storage a second ago in terms of, you know, it's probably a good idea to increase your storage. If you opt for the 200 gigabyte or the 2 terabyte option in iCloud storage, you can share that across the whole family, which means everyone will have access to the same storage. Doesn't mean you'll see everyone else's files. It just means you'll have access to that shared allotment of storage, which means you can back up all your devices of the whole family, right? So yeah, I think there's a lot to talk about in iCloud family sharing. There's probably a whole session just on this, right? Things like screen time. You can see, for instance, if you've got kids in your family, you can see maybe just what percentage of time they are spending on different kind of things, maybe on social networking, X amount, maybe on the internet, on email, all these things. You can definitely also set that up in family sharing. So that's something that you can go check out. And before we move on to some additional things that iCloud can do between all the devices, I also wanted to mention definitely that you can check out iCloud.com. So if you're using iCloud, it means all your information, essentially your photos, your documents, your contacts, are all stored in iCloud, right? So let's say you had to, I don't know, be somewhere we actually don't have access to any of your devices. So your iPhone is not with you, your iPad is not with you, and even your Mac is not with you. You can still go to iCloud.com and look at this. You can actually get your mails there. You can get your contacts, your calendars, your photos, your iCloud Drive. So whatever files are on your Mac, let's say on your desktop, if you had turned on that option, you can go to iCloud.com and access it all from there. So it's definitely something to use when hopefully you need it. And I think lastly, we wouldn't have mentioned in terms of the storage plans, right? So 5 gigs, as we know, is what you get for free. So I'm not sure how many of you are on 5 gigs still, because 5 gigs will probably be enough for the basics, right? Maybe you've got your contacts syncing, you've got your calendars, maybe you've got one phone that is backing up, and maybe some photos, but for a lot of us, I think you'll probably need to expand your storage to something bigger, right? So luckily, I think the good news is it is not expensive to upgrade your storage. So you can go to 50 gigs, which is probably the most popular one. So 50 gigs worth of storage for 15 Rand a month, which is, like half a coffee, essentially. And if you really want to, you can end up to 200 gigs or to 2 terabytes for either 45 Rand per month or to 2 terabytes for 150 Rand per month, right? So Henry's asking, is there anything between 200 gigabyte and 2 terabyte? These, unfortunately, are the kind of tiers that they have at the moment. So you will have to jump from 200 to 2 terabyte. Luckily, I think from a cost effectiveness point of view, you're paying 3 times as much, but you're getting 10 times the storage, right? So hopefully that makes it worth it for you as well. Cool. So now we're going to move on to something I think quite exciting, because we've spoken about how it works and we've kind of seen some examples in terms of how iCloud can make your devices work together. But I think there's a few more things that maybe just make it even more magical. And there's actually a name for this. It's called iCloud continuity, right? So who knew actually that there was a name for this stuff? But let me show you some of the things that we can do with iCloud continuity. And this works amazingly well if you've got an iPad, you've got maybe a Mac, or a combination of any of these, an iPhone, a Mac, an iPad, or even an Apple Watch, right? So what are some of the things we're talking about? First one is actually phone and messages, right? Or phone and SMS. So this one is quite handy. Maybe think about it for a second. Your phone is charging in the room next door. You are sitting on your iPad, right? So maybe you're watching a movie on your iPad in another room, maybe even downstairs, and there's a phone call that comes in. You don't have to run upstairs, right, to get your phone, because literally you can take that call on your iPad. You can actually make a call on your iPad, and you can even do that from your Mac as well. So let me quickly show you just how you would initiate a call from your Mac. I'm just going to exit my presentation. Hopefully everyone is still following along. If you want to make a call, essentially on your Mac, I can go to the Contacts app, right? So that makes sense. So you can see I've got all my contacts here on my Mac. But if I've got someone here in my address book that I want to call, you can see their number is on the screen right there. If I click on that, for instance, you can see I get some options, right? So what I probably should have done is put a SIM card in this phone, because this is a demo phone. But essentially, if you click on that, you'll see there's an option that says call, and you can actually make that call directly from your Mac all the way via your phone. Let's maybe do an even quicker way of doing that. So let's see on your Mac, you quickly want to call Lexi. So what you can do is you can invoke something called Spotlight. So Spotlight is on the top right side of your screen, a little magnifying glass. So if I click on Spotlight, I just type in the name I want to call, in this case, Lexi. You can see there's Lexi's details again, and I can, from there, again, initiate a call just by clicking on the phone number, right? How awesome is that? Literally allowing you to make a call from your Mac via your iPhone. So let's quickly make sure we are still catching up with all the questions coming through. Someone is asking, is the web version of iCloud where I can log on to view whatever's in iCloud? Yeah, so I think we're talking about iCloud.com, right? So, so that is the web version, if that's what you want asking. And thanks, Alon, also for confirming that. And then, yeah, I think we'll come back to some questions maybe in a second. Let's jump back into some more things which are all iCloud continuity based. This one is quite cool, right? I don't know how many of you have used this before. It's called Universal Clipboard. So let me sketch a scenario quickly of why this could be helpful. Let's say you are on your Mac and you are busy with a document and there's all kinds of text that you're busy with. And maybe for some reason you just quickly want to send it in a message to someone, maybe in WhatsApp, right? So now you have to get that text over to your phone, right? So how do you do that? No, maybe you can email it yourself, maybe you can make a note, maybe you can take a picture, right? But what if you actually just can copy between your Mac and your iPhone? And the good news is that you obviously can do that. So let me show you how this works. I'm going to go out of my presentation real quick. And let's open a document. So I'm going to go into this one here, district market.pages, right? So I'm working on this document and I'm scrolling through and I'm like, oh, hold on. This piece of text here, I need that on my iPad, right? So what I can do is I can simply copy something on one device. I'm going to go and say copy, right? So I right click and I say copy. So how do I get it on my iPad? Simply, I just need to paste. So I go back to my iPad. So I'm going to switch over and let's maybe just paste it in Notes for now, right? Because that is maybe the easiest way to do this. I'm going to my Notes app and maybe just tap on the screen and you can see there's an option that says paste, right? So I copied on my Mac. I'm going to paste on my iPhone. You can see the bit of text we just copied is now actually on my iPad. So literally you can copy and paste between iPhone, between iPad, between Mac. And this actually works with not just text, but even things like images, right? Even things like videos. We'll also copy and paste between devices, right? So never do you have to, again, send an email to yourself or take a photo of one. Actually, my wife does this quite often. She will take a photo of a phone, of a Mac screen of something that she likes, right? So maybe just copy it on your Mac and then paste it straight onto your iPhone and hopefully get a better quality version, right? So that is called Universal Clipboard. So we're moving along and I want to show you something, and this is probably my favorite. I literally love this feature so much, right? There's something called continuity sketch and continuity markup. And the idea here is that you're working on your Mac and maybe there's a reason for you to mark up something, but wouldn't it be nice to have an Apple Pencil, right? And the good news is between these devices, you can make them work so you can actually do and start a sketch from your Mac, but actually doing it on the iPad. And again, I need to show this to you, right? So let's close this document here for a second. And let's go to my documents folder on my Mac. And let's find like a PDF real quick. So maybe this one here, it's called The Art of Tea. And I'm gonna quick look this document on my Mac. So I'm not gonna open it. I'm just gonna actually press spacebar to get a little preview of this document. And if you look on the top, you'll see there's an icon of a little pencil silhouetted in a little circle, right? So this is the markup option. So let's start with markup. If I click on that, what you'll see actually is another icon there, which looks like a little pencil. So what I can do now, let me quickly just go onto my iPad, show you how this works. I can click on that and actually mark up on my other device. So you can then draw, you can maybe do a bit of text, add a signature even, and this is called continuity markup, right? So let me show you that one more time, how I was able to get there. So essentially you have a PDF, let's go with this one this time. And whenever there's an option to markup, you can see there again is the markup tool. If I click on that, you can see it allows me to mark up on my other device. So for instance, you can see I'm just sketching there on my iPad. Maybe I just want to actually take out that text there. So I'm just going to scribble over it. So literally on my Mac, I've invoked my iPad screen, and I can use the Apple Pencil, and I can quickly change things, use different colors, and do whatever I want. And that's called continuity markup. I'm going to revert that because maybe that's not necessarily what I wanted to do, and just say done. The other one I wanted to show you is something called continuity sketch, right? So this is even more impressive. So for instance, let's say I'm in a document, and this time I'm going to go back to, let's say, that pages document I was busy with earlier. So let me head back to my pages folder. There we go. Open up pages. And maybe I want to include a little sketch here for some reason, right? So I've got these, I don't know what you call these little things. I think there was a name for it. They look like hamburgers. Maybe someone can help me out. But they're quite delicious, I know that. But let's say I want to add a sketch onto this page. What I can do is I can simply just right-click on the page somewhere. And you can see if I go down, it says iPad Pro, add a sketch, right? Macaroons, that's the word. Thanks, Annika. So what I can do is in this document, I can say add sketch, right? Again, what will happen, you can see on the screen there, it says use your iPad to sketch. Let me show you what my iPad screen changed to. So if I just quickly switch over to my iPad, you can see it changed to a drawing tablet, right? So let me try and draw, I don't know, what are we going to insert on here? Maybe like a little fruit, right? So let's do a nice little fruit. And maybe do a bit of a highlight there. Right, so say done. So literally my iPad is just for a second popped up with a sketch option. If I go back to pages though, right, and I click on OK there, can you see what just happened? There is the sketch I just made on my iPad, and literally I've been able to insert this onto my Mac, right? So this is called continuity sketch. And you can find this in different places as well. So that was inside the pages document, which is awesome. But even if I just right click on here, right, I can then say also import from iPad. You can see I can then actually also add a sketch. So let's say I just wanted to add a sketch. I can actually have that sketch appear in my documents folder just by doing it that way. So it makes it really convenient, right, to quickly do something on your iPad without having to. Otherwise, I mean, what would the other option be? Really, I have to maybe go to my iPad, make that sketch, airdrop it to my Mac, import it, right? So, so let's continue. I also want to talk about continuity camera. So this one is just as impressive. So like the other one was about sketching, this one is obviously about using the camera. But same thing applies. Imagine you want to insert a photo into a document. The old way would be to take the photo, right, to import it onto your Mac, then go and find the photo, and then to insert it into your document. But surely there's an easier way. And the good news is with iCloud, you can definitely do all of this. So let's actually do maybe a similar example. So I keep on closing the document. Maybe I should just keep it open so I don't have to go and open it every time again. But essentially what I can do, if I can right click somewhere, or you can go to the menus on top. Let's do it differently this time. If I go to the insert menu on my menu bar, I can say import from iPad. And this time I want to take a photo, right? So I say take a photo. And you can see my iPad. You can't see it right now, but I'm just going to click on take a photo, and it's going to take a photo of my desk here, right? So I've got my Apple Watch lying there, but literally you can see just by doing that, I was able to activate the camera on my iPad, take a photo, and it goes straight into my document, right? There's another way where actually I think is going to be quite useful. You can also right click again on the page here, and I can say this time import, and this time you can say scan document. How awesome is that, everybody? If you want to scan a document, so have a think about the last time you had to have a document, you maybe had to fill it in and then scan it. You have to find a scanner, right? And somehow get it onto your other devices. But all I can do from my Mac, I can say scan document, and my iPad will once again turn into a camera. So let me quickly do that. There we go. I can say save. And if I say, there we go, save on my iPad, literally, hopefully what you see on the screen, a document appeared. It's uploading to iCloud. You can see it's showing the amount of megs that's uploading. There we go, almost done. But essentially, I've just scanned in a document that was lying on my desktop, on my actual worktop. and I scanned it into my Mac using continuity camera, right? So if you like that feature, maybe let us know, but it is obviously an awesome, awesome feature. So that's continuity camera. Let's move along, because this time I want to talk about the Apple Watch, right? So we just took a photo of an Apple Watch. So I'm not wearing mine at this stage, as you can see. But what can you do with an Apple Watch in iCloud? There's actually a few things. And one or two that I really like is firstly, auto unlock. So if you're wearing your Apple Watch and you get your Mac, maybe your Mac is asleep, you can actually open up your Mac and it will auto unlock your Mac. So by the way, for this to work, you need to turn on two-factor authentication, because there's like an extra layer of security, obviously, to make this work. But essentially, your watch will allow you to skip the password entry on your Mac and just actually unlock automatically. You might say, hold on, is this not maybe a little bit risky? What if someone had to grab my watch and open your Mac? Well, luckily, that is not going to be able to function. So literally, as you put on your watch, you have to put in a passcode, right? And that kind of unlocks your watch on your wrist. Or if you open your phone, that'll also unlock it. But while it's then unlocked like that, it will then function. As soon as you take it off your wrist, it won't work anymore, right? Because it literally needs to know that it's actually authenticated. The other thing you can do is also you can approve things. You can see it says on the screen there, approve. So let's say you're installing some software on your Mac, and every now and then it asks you for a password, right? So instead of typing in your password every time, you can actually just double click on the side button of your iPhone, of your Apple Watch, and also that'll actually approve on your Mac as well, right? So again, these things are quite seamless. And because Apple makes the hardware and the software, right, they can make all these things work so beautifully, right? So they make the hardware, they make the software, they also have iCloud. And that is how all these things are able to sync together so beautifully. So let's move along, because there's one or two more things I want to show you. So if you weren't impressed already about some of the things, then there's one or two more things I want to show you. And this one here is called handoff. So what is handoff? Well, handoff is essentially when you want to start something on one device and then finish it on another device. So maybe what you're seeing on your screen at the moment is an email, and this is a good example. Maybe you're starting to type an email on your one device, and halfway through you're like, maybe I actually just want to finish this on my iPad because I want to leave my Mac and I want to sit on the couch, right? So how would I do that? So this is something to get, which is handoff. Handler saying, you're convincing me to buy a Mac, right? Definitely, it is how these things work together so beautifully, right? So let me quickly just go out of my presentation. And this time I want to show you how to use handoff. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a new email, right? So let's test this out. I'm going to make a new email. Let's make a new message here. And I'm going to send this to, I don't know, someone in my address book. We'll call this just test email. And maybe you've got a whole bunch of text that you have in here, and I'm just going to put some gibberish in here for a second, right? Maybe you even got a photo in here, right? So it's not just maybe a text email. Maybe you've got some photos in there. So I go here. And by the way, see what else I'm seeing over there? If I'm inserting a photo, I can only not just insert the photo from my camera roll, I can even insert it from my iPad or iPhone, right? How cool is that? But in this case, we just want to insert a photo from our library. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my photos and maybe just drag in a photo there. So maybe at this time, I'm like, I actually need to continue on my iPad. So let me show you how this works. I'm going to now quickly, let me just jump into that screen so you can see it. Okay. So I want you to have a look on my iPad screen as I'm busy with my mail. You see what just happened on the bottom corner of my dock? There was a little icon that appeared that looks like a mail envelope with a little symbol of a Mac, right? So what does that mean? That's telling me, hey, I see you busy with an email on your Mac. Maybe you want to actually pick this up on your iPad. So how would I do that? I literally just click on the iPad on that little icon, right? So there we go, click on it. So I just click on it once. You can see it says loading. And what you'll see is that email disappears from my Mac, right? So literally it went, it sucked it from my Mac and it literally pasted it onto my iPad. So I think you can't see my iPad, there we go. So literally that email is now on my iPad, and I can continue to work and do what I need to do, right? So this is called a handoff, by the way, and this works with many apps. So let me give an example. So for instance, if I open up the dock on my iPad once more, I'm just trying to arrange a few things here on my screen now that I've got my iPad here so I can actually see what's happening. But as I do different things, so as I open up Safari, I want you to have a look on my iPad screen, what's going to happen, right? So I'm in Safari, and let's say I'm going to, I don't know, let's go to apple.com. Did you see what happened on my iPad screen? Literally, it gave me this time a Safari icon, right? Which means I can now switch between the two. And also it works the other way around. And also it works between iPhone and iPad. So it's not just between Mac and iPad, it's also between iPhone and iPad. So as you start one thing on one device, you can then continue it on another device, right? So it's obviously great for those handing off. And this, by the way, doesn't just work with the Apple applications like Notes and Keynote and Pages. You know, those all work. It also actually works with third-party applications. So if you've got the same application on two devices, so let's say you've got PDF Expert, maybe that's an app you downloaded both on your Mac and also on your iPad or your iPhone, that app will also allow you to hand off between devices, right? So it's really an awesome feature to allow you to do great things between your devices. So that's handoff, right? Another great one, and we're almost wrapping up. So there's just two more things I want to cover, and this one is called Instant Hotspot. So again, because you have these things linked up with iCloud, you can actually also share things like cellular data. So let's say you got your iPad and you're traveling, your iPhone is in your bag, and you don't really want to get your iPhone out just to turn on the hotspot and then go to your iPad and then have to search for that Wi-Fi network, right? Luckily, because they already are on the same iCloud account, they know each other, right? So what will happen on your iPad, if you go to the Wi-Fi settings, you should see your iPhone's name there already. If you click on that, essentially, even if your hotspot feature was turned off on your iPhone, it'll turn on again and then allow you to connect to the hotspot on your iPad. And the same will also apply to your Mac, right? So quickly connecting to your phone's hotspot. In my case, this is something I do from time to time. Our internet is not great here, so I'm glad it lasts for this call. But every now and then the Wi-Fi gets a bit spotty, right? And then I quickly connect to my phone's hotspot. And it doesn't matter where my phone is, I can quickly just make that so I can keep on being connected. So that's called Instant Hotspot. And last one I want to talk about, and this is probably one of the best things, is called Sidecar. So quickly give us an indication if you've used Sidecar before. Maybe raise your hand. It'd be nice to see if anyone has used Sidecar already. So Sidecar is one of those features that really just makes, and I see there's a couple of people that are raising your hands. Nicely done. I'm so glad that some of our customers are making use of some of these great features already. So what you can do on your Mac is you can have your iPad as a second screen. How awesome is that? So let's say you've got all these things open. You've got your mail open, your calendar, your contacts. You've got maybe some photo editing software open, and it's all happening on your Mac screen, right? So you feel like you're running out of space. Wouldn't it be nice to have a second screen, but you don't have a second screen, but you do have your iPad. So what you can do, and I'm quickly going to show you how to turn this on. So if you go to your system preferences, right? So Apple menu, system preferences, you'll see there's an option here, and I'm going to the bottom of this menu. There's one that looks like a little blue, two devices linked up, and that's called Sidecar. So essentially what I can do is I'm not going to do it here because unfortunately just making a second display of a device that's already linked to a second display that's also over Zoom is just a little bit too much. And then I think last time we tried this, we lost the audio a little bit. So I'm just going to show you where to do it. So essentially, if I click on my iPad there, it'll allow me to then have my iPad as a second screen. So I can then use this as I would any other second screen. I can maybe, and here's a good example, right? Zoom. How many of you actually do using Zoom a lot these days, right? So you're on calls, you've got multiple windows open because you're sharing your screen, like I'm doing at the moment. But also you've got the participant list, right? And you've got the chat window. So what you can do is you can have your iPad as a second screen, and essentially I can move, let's say, the chat window over there. I can move the participants window over there. So I've got still my whole Mac screen available for me to use and demo, but I can just launch at my iPad and still see things like chats and whatnot. I mean, this is great for a lot of reasons, right? So maybe just extra space. maybe even as a drawing tablet. So maybe you want to have touch up a photo. So you can actually have your iPad as a second screen and then use the pencil like in Photoshop, right? And actually drawing on the image itself versus trying to do it with a mouse on your screen. So that, by the way, Steve is asking, can you use Sidecar between your PC and your iPad? Unfortunately, Steve, this is a Apple to Apple thing. So Sidecar works with Mac and iPad only. Steve, there is a third-party app that does something similar, by the way. So if you want to try out an app, I think it's called Duet Display. If you want to go and search that, you can do something similar. It obviously doesn't integrate as closely as Sidecar, but you can do something similar. So maybe go and try it out. Someone's also asking, how do I get to Sidecar, right? So firstly, you need to have compatible devices. So you need to have a recent Mac, and I'm talking about the last few years, like 2017 or later. And also you need to have a recent iPad, like an iPad 6, iPad 7 or later, or iPad Pro, for instance. They will all work. If you got both of those devices and you've got the latest software, which is Mac OS Catalina and iOS 13, you go to your system preferences, like I've shown you, and you'll see there's an option that says Sidecar. And if I click on this, you should be able to connect to your device. You can do this wireless, by the way, or with a cable if you have it plugged in. Probably slightly better performance if you do it with a cable, but it doesn't necessarily have to be plugged in. Someone is asking, will it work with the MacBook Air 2016? I think Stefan has actually just posted the link in the chat there that will allow you to see if your Mac is supported. So maybe go check out that link and then see if your Mac is on there. It works with the most recent ones, so hopefully yours is on the list. But if not, then also maybe you can try out that Duet app we spoke about earlier on. That one is not free, by the way, so you have to pay for that. But maybe if that's what you need, then that will do the trick. So Sidecar, right? And that'll be, I think, the last feature we talk about today is talk about in the session. So many things that we covered in the session. Oh my goodness, we spoke about photos and documents, right? And how all these devices work together just to make your life so much easier. But it's all these small things, right? And because Apple makes the hardware and software, they can really focus on making these things work like magic, like signing on an iPad when you want to sign on a document on your Mac, or just switching between your iPhone and your iPad in terms of something like handoff, right? So there's so many awesome things that you can do. What I would suggest, if you want to know more, that you can definitely book a personal training session. So we do have one-on-one training sessions available on iStore Meets. So go check it out, and maybe someone can take you through your specific devices and see how you can make it work for you. But hopefully this overview gave you a good idea of what is possible, right? So you can really enjoy your devices together so much more. So at this stage, I think we will say thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for taking some time to learn something new. And I hope it was informational. And then we will definitely see you on another session. So thank you, everybody. Goodbye. Until next time. Cheerio.